Unit 3, Sensors and Vision, Camera and Color. Part 3, Low-Level Vision. Objective. The interest in computer vision started with a quest to make machine comprehend image to enhance the possibility of image processing. So in this lab, we cover basic image processing techniques with ready-to-use code and example to understand the concept better. Various low-level vision algorithms dealing with image features like edges, contour are considered. Python and OpenCV will be our go-to resource. You may get stuck during installation, coding, compilation, and error handling. You can refer to Stack Overflow Python doc to clarify to get solution to the problem at hand. We find instruction for installation of OpenCV and its dependencies on the websites mentioned in the references. So in this lecture, we primarily look at creation of image. And then we will apply image processing. And then we will talk about low-level vision. Some of the topics we already covered in the previous lab, but we will briefly cover it and move on. So loading image. So loading image, basically, you can read an image from file. And the color space, we already talked about it. So here I skip a few pages. You can study it. So the image we are going to upload is Messi.jpg. So basically, you import CV2 and then you do image wrap. And here you have such things. So remember that we had the video capture in our previous lab. And you create a frame, and then you actually do image wrap to read from a camera, and then create a frame, and then you show it. So right here, we actually read it from file instead of from camera. So CV2 is a computer vision package, and it actually including that you can read the image from file or either from the camera. Either way, they will support it. And we read it in, and then we actually can show the image over here. This one just have a pause. And then we will close all the windows. And here, if you don't have the loop, you just try to use a wait key. It will also work. Here, I just put it over here with such a break loop, just because sometimes we may need to do post-image processing. Image transformation. So first, we would like to cover a few image transformation, and these are considered the image processing portion. First is the translation, and then resize, and the rotation. Translation. Translation of the image is similar to the translation of our robot arms. So basically, we read in an image, an object over here, and we are going to move it to a different location. So that's called translation. So basically, we will actually use this one called CV2 warp offing filter. For this one, actually, you can look at the metric M, and it's a 2x3 metric. So 2 rows and 3 columns. So as you can see right here, this portion is the rotational metric, and this one is the displacement vector. So similar to what we have, you can put in your x and y and then 1 over here, similar to Denabit-Hartenberg matrix. So if you do this one, your input xy will be like this. Your new output you will get will be x prime equals x plus tx. Okay, y prime will be equals y plus ty. And this one is the transition vector. So it's similar to the Denabit-Hartenberg matrix, and you can use that. So over here, as you can see, we can create a translate matrix. That one is 1, 0, 25, and then 0, 1, 50. So basically you have 1, 0, 25, and then you have 0, 1, 50. So this one actually showing you that you have a vector that will move your blocks to 25 and then actually 50. So we'll go this way down here. Okay. And the second one, we have an M. That one had minus 50, minus 90. That one actually will go up by 90, go left by 50. Okay, so that's actually try this program, translate.py. So here we have this program called translation.py, and we read in an image called Messi. That's a soccer player. And then we do two translation. So let's run it. So here we see three pictures. The first one is this one. It basically is the original image. We pick this one because we can see the green, blue, and red and yellow. It's very colorful. So that's the first image we have. Second image, we move down from the original one. So basically, you can see there is a move for 50 and 100 down here. And third image, we move up. So it actually is minus 90. That's the y direction minus 90 and x minus 50. So here, if we add 100 to it, it will have a bigger move. So that's add 100 to these vectors. As you can see, the movement now is way bigger than before. So basically in this program, as you can see, you read in the image and you show your original image. And then you create the translation matrix without rotation. And you actually can show it after the shift. And then here you actually has the source image and the matrix. And then you have this one. These two actually are the dimensions. So they are the number of the columns. That's for x direction dimension. And this one is y dimension direction. So the 0 and 1, you need to be careful because y is the row. So y is over here. X is the column. So x is the number 1 for the index. So we see result like this. Then let's look at resizing. Resizing is scaling. So scaling make the picture bigger or smaller. So basically we read in the image and then we actually show it that's the original image. Then we create a ratio to down convert it from the original image's number of column to 480. So the number of the column now actually become 480. And then we have a different ratio to create its row. So that R is ratio. So this one actually you convert that to your number of row, the y direction. Okay. And then you actually create a dimension that is your dimension. So we do resize. So CV2 that resize the source image and the XY ratio, and we do interpolation if needed. So here is the parameter we use interpolation for the image in case that we are enlarging the image. But here we are downsizing, so actually it should be okay. And let's run this one. So let's get our resize.py over here. So here we use 480, so let's run it. So your original image is this one, your new image is this one, okay? Let's try this way. Here we don't use 480, let's try 1600. So the image will be bigger than before. So as you can see, it has an interpolation now, making the image bigger. Now, let's look at another topic, rotation. We know rotation quite well because we have done the Dennerby-Hartenberg matrix and do a lot of rotation on the robot. So here we actually just tell you there is a function called CV2 that get rotation matrix 2D, and P is the point of rotation. So basically, you got a image, and then you pick a point of rotation that is your axis. You can consider that's Z. So your X and Y are here, and you actually rotate around Z. That's the point you are trying to have. And this point should have a certain X, Y over there. And you actually rotate with a theta. Theta is the angle from where you are. That's a theta. And then scale. Scale means that you will enlarge or not enlarge. So basically, your image will be timed with the R with a complex number like this, performing the rotation with certain scaling factor. And this R actually is the scaling, and theta is over here, around the point specified. So right here, we actually get the image shape that will give you the width and height. So height is actually the number of rows. Width is the column. So we get these two and we find out the center point. So this one is center point. You can rotate at different location actually. And then we actually get rotation around the center, scaling factor 1. And then we kind of get a matrix. This one will get a matrix. And then we do the kind of rotation. So this matrix will be similar to the 2x3 Dennerby-Hartenberg matrix, something like that. So you actually perform that, and then with the size of the column and row over here, and you get a rotation matrix. So you still perform this walk often application of the matrix to the image, and that perform similar operation to your Dennerby-Hartenberg matrix. So we perform that. So let's look at the example. So here we have this rotation.py that's wrong. So we produce 3 images. The first image we produce is the original. Second one is rotation by 60 degrees. Third one actually is rotation by 90 degrees. So now let's go back. Let's assume like we comment out this center. Okay, and what we want to do is let's redefine the center. So this center we would like to use will be, let's assume that we are rotating by the corner. So we use the W and H. So the rotation will be performed by the lower bottom corner. So basically your original picture is like this. You are rotating with this one. So if you rotate by a theta, basically this one will turn by a theta and your image will be something like this. So let's try this one. That's our center, and rotate by 60 degrees and minus 90 degrees. So that's, as you look at it, some of the picture may not show. So as you can see, actually complete move out, and this one 60 degrees, it actually rotate by 60 degrees over here, from here to here. Okay, this we just show you if you pick the wrong axis or center of rotation, you may create some image that you may not like. Okay, so be careful when you pick your center point. So the next one we would like to look at is the color. So color space, we have RGB, grayscale, and this kind of thing we already noted, so we won't emphasize on this one. Next one is frequency domain. And what we want to look at right now is the next step. We are going to look at the image vision, the computer vision, the low-level vision, instead of just processing the image for translation and scaling. Here we are going to try to provide filters to process the image to get the region. So basically what region is, come from your source image. You iterate the color RGB maybe. And then based on this different image, or sometimes you use your grayscale, you get the image. Then you send this one into image analysis. So you can extract its contour, or you can extract its edge on different objects. And you based on these low-level vision filters, and you make judgment on what it is. And this portion we call it vision. And vision is a big research field. So we won't try to cover everything in image vision, but here we will try to give you some basic idea, the edge detection and also the contour detection. So now let's look at what is frequency domain. Let's assume that we have the image, and the image is actually 2D. So we have drawn something like here, and let's assume that we actually cut it to 1D, and then each pixel's gray level we draw it. So those gray level we shall see should be something like this. And if we convert it to frequency domain, basically the signal may be moving like a sinusoidal signal, and it had composited sinusoidal signal and combined together with form the original data. So we can figure out at certain frequency domain, the component or harmonic that is shown will be something like this. Okay, so that's the frequency domain. So frequency domain is to look at how fast the data is changing. And usually your square wave signal, when you convert it to frequency domain, you should see certain fixed component for each individual one. Okay, you should convert it to frequency domain. You should see some sort of sync function over it. You will see some sync function with this square wave function. So that actually showing different harmonic you may have. Okay, so here we don't look into those detailed technical portion for frequency domain, but what we want to say is actually Fourier transform can explore the frequency domain information, and these frequency domain information actually are very useful, and it represents how fast your data change. And what we look at is not a frequency domain for the light color. So it's not like blue for certain frequency, red for certain frequency, and green for certain frequency. We are not studying that. Instead, we are studying the frequency that is happening on your image. We call it spatial frequency. So how fast your data change in the 2D spatial frequency domain information. So we are analyzing the frequency in the space, 2D space. We call it planar frequency. So in the frequency domain, we alter the characteristic of the image in a way that enable parallel processing and lesser number of computation to arrive at the same result. What does this mean? Actually, let's look at the computation for convolution. I will use a very simple example. Say we have 12 times 6, you got 76. So this one actually is multiplication. This one is multiplication. So frequency domain multiplication will be time domain convolution. Okay, so you can expand this data as 100 times 6. 6 will be equals 101. So you do 1, actually 0, 0, 1, 1, and then 0, and then you have 0, 0, 1, 1, and you sum them together. So this operation of timing this sequence with another sequence, we call it convolution. So time domain, you perform convolution. In the frequency domain, you will just have the multiplication. So we take advantage of such a feature. We can make the calculation much easier. And that's why we want to use the frequency domain for calculation of these different signals. Right here, I give you a very, very simple idea of what is Fourier transform. But in fact, the transform theory is very complicated. So Joseph Fourier was a 18th century French mathematician. He discovered that we can express waveform as the sum of simple waveform of various frequencies. We call it sinusoidal waveform. The concept is useful in manipulating image because it allows us to find region in the image that we are interested in. So we call it ROI, region of interest. And we actually will also find some noise. So let's look at what is filter. So filter is the convolution kernel. You have your image and you want to do convolution with your kernel and then deliver the result. So the result we can get actually is a process data, such as we perform some operation on it. The kernel are the filters. So let's look at high pass filter. Assuming that we have 1D voice or audio signal, and it's something like this, okay, that's a time domain. And we convert it to frequency domain, it may be something like this. Okay, and then actually use a high pass filter. So high pass filter, actually it would be allowing the high pass to pass, and we are going to remove this portion at the lower frequency, that we call it high pass filter. And high pass filter usually is actually taking derivative, and it will provide you the age information. So high pass filter usually is emphasizing the high frequency component, and usually the high frequency happen on the edge of your original signal. Low frequency is representing your average level. These are basic concepts. So here we are assuming that we have such a high pass filter, and this one will actually calculate for you about the high pass cut off the represent the edge. Okay, that's one is a kernel for high pass. So here we use this one, a kernel like this, okay, and it is used to convolute with your original image. So a mask, the mask has the information that filter has derived from image via convolution. And we can also design the other type of the kernel, we call it low pass filter. So low pass filter usually is for averaging out, smoothing out the data. So here we have a low pass filter for the kernel. And let's look at an example. So we use that for this edge detection over here. So let's look at this edge detection before we go back to look at the context for the data. So here we have the so-called edge detection. So it is a high pass filter. So high pass, it will actually amplify the noises. But because emphasize the noises, so you can see the edges now are actually easy to spot the edges. Okay, the edges of this picture is emphasized. Before we read into this code, let's go back to our discussion for edge detection. So edge detection are the lowest level features for vision. They are also the first piece of information that we as a human is able to use our eyeball viewing to figure out, okay? And people are good at finding edge. And here we actually can see that the OpenCV provide the Laplacian, Sobel, and the SCAR, these different filter. But these filter are faulty, so actually we try a different filter for it. So here we know that there are different filters such as blur, medium blur, something like that, okay? So we use this one called stroke edge filter, and we will use that to actually get this. So let's go back to the code. So right here, we actually include a CV2, and then we have the kernel like this, that is high frequency, high pass filter. And then we read in the image and then show the image. And then we duplicate the image, and then we apply the stroke edge filter to the original image, and then produce the process image and print out the process image. So this stroke edge filter will accept the source image and produce the destination image. So here basically you create the blur image from the source, and then you convert the blur image to actually gray level, and then you have different way depending on how many the kernel size. So if the kernel size greater than 3, we will do this, otherwise we do this. So basically these are choose of the kernel size and performing the blur filter to it, okay? And after that, we actually do Laplacian for a gray image, and then we perform a CVAU to perform it. And this one should be 8-bit the unsigned integer. We do something like that. And then we normalize the inverse alpha data. And then we actually split the source to channels. I think the channel should be the 3 colors. And then we merge the different colors with the normalization factor. So this one actually is that some of them will be out of bound. We try to prevent it to get out of bound overflow. So we split to 3 different channels, and then each channel we normalize it, and then we actually merge them back to the destination image. So get out of here the image, the destination image will be the processed data. And that's the so-called edge detection. So we zoom into his head and body section. You can see how this edge is being detected, okay? Contour detection. Another important computer vision, the low-level vision technique is called contour detection, and that has gained popularity among scientists and researchers. And we developed these different filters, and it is very useful, and in AI, we will need that. So it is useful to generate the bounding box for a certain image region, and we can calculate the region of interest and approximate the shapes. So contour detection is very important. So right here, let's actually look at the function called find contour. So we have the contour.py, and we create a 200 by 200 image. And the middle of it from 50 to 150, we put the white color in there. Otherwise, it will be black color. And then we set out the threshold, and the threshold will be 127. And we use that to find contour. And we will actually find the contour in contour image, and there's a hierarchical information. And then the contour will be applied to your color image, and it will apply by the green color. You will apply by the green color. And let's look at the program. So contour detection over here. So this time that's not using this one. Let's try using 255 over here. I changed the color for the contour, so let's try it. So it changed to channel 2, that actually is red color. So let's try one more time, set it to 0 and put the 255 on the blue channel. As you can see, the contour can be clearly detected. Of course, this image is very simple one, so the contour is easy to be found, okay? But you basically can apply our image that we taken before that has a red color somewhere, and we provide threshold. So after you provide threshold, you should see a solid color at a certain range. And then we apply this contour filter, and you should be able to detect the contour. So you can take the camera to perform it. And that one, we won't do it here. So here, I just give you some basic introduction of the so-called low-level vision and image processing. And because we have limited time, so I just try to give you some basic idea of what they are. And in a summary, we cover various algorithms related to the basics of the image processing and the low-level vision. And this is only the very basic portion. If you really want to learn more about computer vision, you should spend more time to study on it, okay? So this one about the discussion of the vision will be finished over here, and we will move on to different topics. But please do your own study to explore more interesting topic in the machine vision for robotics. Thank you. Bye now.